Imagine this. You're sitting on a beach at night. It's completely deserted, black except for the glimmer of the moon and the twinkle of the stars. As the ocean laps against the land, a giant creature emerges from the gloom and laboriously makes its way up the beach. You watch as the sea turtle digs, lays its eggs in a trance-like torpor, carefully disguises the nest in the sand and returns to the sea. Imagine this. You are part of the last generation who will ever experience this magical event. Sea turtles, which have survived and thrived on this planet for 150 million years, have gone extinct. And worse, the causes are entirely preventable. Most of them were caused by us. Climate change is one of the greatest threats to the future of sea turtles. Its effects include rising sea levels, global temperature and weather change, coastal erosion, and deviation of oceanic currents. In Frontier's base of operations in Costa Rica, Pero on the Osa Peninsula, we have witnessed firsthand the issues caused by climate change. In partnership with Osa Conservation, we have built a turtle hatchery where we relocate vulnerable nests. While this is largely effective, there are dangers related to moving turtle nests, and as always, prevention is greater than a cure. So what can you do? In Britain, we can encourage greater awareness and engagement with environmental issues. If enough people draw attention to the potential impacts of climate change, then together we can commit to a change.
When we talk about climate change and its causes, we often focus on national or international issues, rather than on the individual household. A recent environmental audit has shown how a simple camp of 15 people can exist with a smaller carbon footprint than an average UK household of 4 people. It is our consumption of huge quantities of energy, foreign foods and goods which in turn drives forward climate change. Whilst we cannot reasonably suggest that everyone in the United Kingdom leaves their homes and moves into makeshift jungle camps, there are certainly lessons to be learned from the statistics. In Costa Rica, we travel almost exclusively on public transport. Minimising electricity usage would be the most effective means of lowering a family's carbon footprint. Ensure that only appliances being used are switched on, place heating on a timer or wear an extra jumper, spend more time as a family in a single room to share light. This lifestyle lesson is directly transferable from Central America to Britain.
Tanzania is a hotspot for bird diversity with over 1,000 bird species. Mafia Island, Tanzania, where Frontier have been monitoring biodiversity, is an internationally recognised Ramsar site. It is, however, very low-lying, with most of the island below 50 metres in elevation, meaning that the coastal wetlands and therefore many bird species are vulnerable to the impacts of sea level rise. 38% of globally threatened bird species are specifically at risk from climate change issues. The main driver for climate change is the emission of anthropogenically produced greenhouse gases. But in the UK, we have the technology and resources that can be used to help reduce these. It's important to protect areas in the UK and places further afield where migratory birds rest and recuperate.
Fiji's 333 islands are frequently referred to as paradise, but this seemingly idyllic geography is becoming increasingly more sensitive to the effects of climate change. As a tropical island, Fiji is particularly sensitive to extreme weather events. Cyclones routinely batter the island nation, leaving widespread damage in their wake. Decreasing economic growth and increased disease outbreaks are just 2 examples of how these tropical storms impact Fijian life. Sea level rises are likely to cause a substantial increase in coastal erosion, agricultural flooding, and threats to homes and livelihoods of many Fijians. In addition, the acidification of oceans threatens the coral reefs upon which much of Fijian tourism is reliant. These coral reefs, with their high biodiversity, are of huge economic importance. Climate change is clearly a big issue in Fiji. The question is what can be done to make the impacts less severe on its people and environment. Under both tropical and subtropical conditions, the diverse mangrove trees and shrubs can be located. Over time, they have developed a kind of mutualistic relationships with the coral reef systems that frequently occur nearby. Coral reefs act as buffers against the strongest oceanic currents and waves, creating a more favourable environment for mangrove growth. In return, the mangroves act as a nursery for many juvenile fish species, thus promoting the growth and development of coral reefs. Reducing CO2 emissions is obviously fundamental in preventing the worst-case scenarios, but for now, mangrove conservation is seen as an effective local conservation method.